What's going on, guys? Khalipa's Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Samsung Galaxy A22 5G. In this video, I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about this phone to help you decide whether or not it's the right one for you. But before we go any further, I do want to remind you to go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. That being said, let's get into the video. So this phone has a 6.6 inch 90Hz TFT display with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 399, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen to body ratio of 82.3%. We got a water drop notch up here for the front facing camera, and this camera is 8 megapixels. I'm not a huge fan of water drop notch cameras, but this one isn't too bad. It's not very intrusive like most of them are. And overall, the bezels are decently thin and the display does look really good, so I can't really complain too much. The phone has a decently nice modern look. It's a little bit chunky. I was expecting it to be a tiny bit thinner, but this generation of Samsung Galaxy A series phones is a little bit thicker than the previous ones, so I'm not really surprised either. The back is made of this sort of matte material, and I actually really like it. It looks a lot higher end than some other phones in the same line, so I think that is really nice. Overall, I am a big fan of the design. It's really high quality and pretty minimalistic, and for what it is, I think they did a really good job. This phone has 128 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion, so that's a good amount of storage. Now, be aware there are several different variants. I believe there's one with 64 gigabytes as well, but this specific version of the phone in my hand does have 128 gigabytes of internal storage. That being said, 128 gigabytes of internal storage is a lot of storage. For the average user, you're not going to have to worry about running out of space anytime soon with this phone. And if you're more of a power user who has lots of different apps and photos and videos and that sort of thing, this is going to work out really well for you because having microSD card expansion really helps with storing photos and videos, and then with apps, you would need a lot of apps in order to fill up the space on this phone. So either way, you're not going to have to worry about space. This phone doesn't have wireless charging. I feel like every year, every time a new phone comes out, I have this little sliver of hope that they've finally started incorporating wireless charging into their more mid-level phones, but unfortunately it hasn't happened yet. Maybe next year. But that being said, this phone does have a fingerprint scanner and face unlock, so for security features, it's still really good. While Samsung has been putting in-display fingerprint scanners on more and more of their A series phones, this phone has their second option, which is a fingerprint scanner on the power key. I actually like both styles. I think they do have their own advantages, so let's give this one a try and see how it works. There we go, one more time. And there we go. As you can see, it's super fast and responsive. I don't think the in-display fingerprint scanners usually are that fast. So if you're looking for something really practical and convenient, the power key fingerprint scanner is really gonna be the way to go. But I personally like the in-display fingerprint scanner a lot for the aesthetics. So I guess it really does depend on personal taste. I like this fingerprint scanner a lot though, no issues here. For the rear camera setup, we got a 48 megapixel rear camera, a 5 megapixel ultra wide camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. This phone has pretty much every feature you could possibly want. It doesn't have a macro camera. I don't know anybody who actually uses that feature, but if you do want a macro camera, then you're gonna be disappointed with this device. Otherwise, as far as the camera is concerned, this phone has pretty much everything. This is a picture taken with the main camera of this phone. Now this is a really high quality picture. I really like how this turned out. The colors look really nice, the focus is perfect, the details are really sharp, pretty much everything you would want from a phone's camera. So if you're taking photos with the intention of keeping them, maybe you're posting them on social media, a website, pretty much anything out there, this phone is gonna get the job done for you. So for video, this phone has a max resolution of 1152, aka 2K in the rear camera, and 1080p in the front. 2K is a pretty unusual resolution. I don't think I've actually seen that before. I guess it's better than 1080p, but not by much, and there are other phones in the A series lineup, like the Samsung Galaxy A22 5G for example, that can shoot 4K in the rear camera. So if you're looking for the max video quality you can possibly find, then you can do better than this. But if you're fine with 2K, if you usually just shoot 1080p anyway, then this phone should be perfectly fine. Internally, this phone is getting 6 GB of RAM with the MediaTek Dimensity 700 5G processor. I ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on this phone and it came back with a single core score of 561 and a multi-core score of 1726. So this is actually where it gets really impressive. This phone has a really powerful processor for what it is. In this type of price range, you're really getting a lot. Not only is it gonna do pretty much anything you want it to, from low-end tasks like web browsing to higher-end things like mobile gaming, video editing, all that, but it's gonna give you a faster and smoother experience on your day-to-day activities. So if you're going on social media, something like Instagram, where there's lots of more graphics intensive types of things. I know when I've tested out Instagram stories on lots of phones, even mid-range phones like this, sometimes the stories are a little slow for some reason, but on this phone, you're gonna get a much smoother experience in general. What I would recommend is running a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on your current device and comparing it to these numbers and seeing how much of an upgrade it would be. Now this phone has a 5000 milliamp hour battery that supports 15 watt fast charging, so that's really impressive as well. There are not too many phones that have bigger batteries than this, and the fast charging really doesn't hurt either. If you have a more mobile lifestyle where you have to use your phone heavily throughout the day, you're probably not gonna have to charge your phone in the middle of the day regardless, because this phone's battery is so big. But if you ever do, having fast charging really helps because it allows you to charge your phone a lot more in a shorter period of time. And for longevity purposes, if you like to keep the same phone for a longer period of time without replacing it, this phone is going to have another advantage in terms of the battery, because having a larger battery means as the battery degrades, you're not going to notice it as quickly, so you're not going to have to replace the phone due to the battery dying too fast than you would with a phone that has a smaller battery, like the iPhone 12 for example, that has around half this phone's battery size. Now this phone does have Android 11, which is pretty expected since it is a brand new Samsung phone, so software wise I have no complaints there. Where I do however have a little bit of a complaint is in the fact that this phone does not have NFC. Now I'm not sure if it's going to be the same for other variants of this phone in different regions. Maybe there will be a variant of this phone that does have NFC, but this specific variant does not, and that is a disappointment to me because NFC allows you to use contactless mobile payment services like Google Pay, Samsung Pay, Apple Pay if you have an iPhone, all of that. And that's getting more and more widely used, and it's such a convenient feature. I use it all the time. So not being able to use it on a phone like this that has so many nice features, so many good specs, is really disappointing because this phone is one of those ones that I had almost no complaints about, but then I realized it has no NFC, and that's a big drawback in my opinion because I do think that's a feature that pretty much every good phone should have. So now that we've gone over a lot of the specs of this phone, let's take a closer look at the hardware. On the left side, there's not a whole lot going on here. We just have the slot for the SIM card and the micro SD card. On the right side, we got the power key that also doubles as a fingerprint scanner and the volume keys. On the top of the phone, we got our noise canceling microphone. And on the bottom, we got a 3.5mm headphone jack, the microphone, a USB-C charging port, and the speaker. On the back, we got our camera setup and our flash. There's a Samsung logo right down here. And again, the back is really clean. I really like this look. It makes the phone look a lot higher end. And overall, the materials are really good. They don't feel the most premium in the world, that's for sure. But in general, I've definitely seen worse, and the phone's design itself really makes up for all the plastic. In conclusion, my final thoughts about the Samsung Galaxy A22 5G. I think this phone is actually a real good deal, and it has lots of real nice specs that I'm really impressed by. I don't really have that many complaints about it. Probably my biggest one is that it doesn't have NFC, and I do think the video specs are a little weird. Like, if you're gonna make a phone that can shoot 2K videos, you might as well just bump it up to 4K. I don't really know what the point of 2K videos even is. Usually, either you're gonna be shooting 4K level videos, or other than that, you're probably not even gonna care and just shoot 1080p. The 2K to me just feels really pointless. I guess you could call it a drawback to have no macro camera, although once again, in my opinion, the macro camera is just a gimmick that nobody really uses. Now, I could be wrong. Some people might like the macro camera and therefore would be disappointed with this phone's camera setup, but I personally don't think it's a big deal that this phone doesn't have it. Other than that, I really like this phone. The display is a little bit bigger than the average display, which I would say an average display is around 6.5 inches these days. I usually don't see phones much smaller than that, and only a good handful of phones out there have bigger displays. So as far as the size goes, I do think it's a good size, and quality in general are really nice. Having the 90 Hz refresh rate is gonna be helpful when you're watching videos and stuff like that. And overall, I would say if you're looking for a mid-level phone with a lot of processing power, lots of storage space, and a really good quality display, the Samsung Galaxy A22 5G is going to be a great option to consider. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you found this information useful as well. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I will see you in the next video.